Hey Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Keith. Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning. Good to see you. Right before we came on, you asked the question about, hey, listen, so what came up for you this week? And I was like, I don't think much. I was like, oh, this is what came up for me this week. So let me just kick it off. And this title of this one is going to be leadership and accountability in the practice. Again, leadership and accountability in the practice. So as with me, I'll tell a story to kind of like lay the groundwork for our discussion. And so what happened today is, within ToBeRe, Rick, you've been a part of the community for a long time, since 2007. So we spent a lot of great years together. And one thing that has made ToBeRe, I think, special is this collective goal or mission to really inspire each other. And so you show up in a way that is always contributing and serving other people. And in doing so, you get even more for yourself than you would have gotten solo. So part of that is like we have like some guidelines and some rules. And some of those guidelines are, work on yourself so you can show up as your best. When you hear, work out in a way that inspires others, encourage people so that they can grow and get the most out of their experience. And so the whole time, all we're doing is contributing to each other. And one of the rules that we have had is that we all show up on time, right? And so it's been described to me a couple of ways about what on time means, right? So, and the way it is is that if you show up on time, then you're late. If you show up 10 minutes before the time, then you're early. And if you show up late, then you get extra growth. So so so
Squat
you
rack, squat
yeah,
rack.
squat rack, walking lunges, water pipes, you name it. That's what we do. So most recently we have really transitioned back into mostly in-person experiences here in the studio, and it's been so much fun connecting with everyone. So this week, I had an announcement a couple of weeks ago about, hey, listen, we're going to start on time, and this is what time it means. Like you show up 5 minutes early, or I give the time, which is normally 5 minutes early before we start. That way I can lay out the workout, I can pair you up, and then we can go and put that work in. So two of my friends, and they're lovely people. They came in late, right after we were already getting ready to get started. And one of them came in immediately, and because she's been with us for a while, God, she's been with us 8 years, at least 8 years. And she came in, and she said, "Hey Keith, I'm sorry for being late." And she'd been late a few times before that, and normally before this round, she was hardly ever late, but she was late. And and then another one of my close friends came in, and they were like right behind each other, and they were both late, so 2 minutes late. And I told myself, like, do not close your heart because they're late. There's an impact to the workout, which I can share later, but we need to get the workout going. And it was fine. It was all good. I was pulling myself back. I was really good about encouraging everybody, not closing my heart to them, as I have done with 1.0 behavior, that I don't encourage as much. I'm not as open and connected with people that broke a rule that I gave everyone. So everything was fine until we midway through the workout, and then one of my friends came up and she put her hand on my back and she just said, "Hey Keith, I'm really sorry about being late." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then my other friend who was late said something like, "What was it? What was it? 2 minutes? We got here at what, 5:27?" And that's and that's when my roommate perked up. It was like this cat, that was sitting outside the mouse hole. And I mean, you can be dropping dishes, the phone is ringing, people are playing loud music. That cat's eyes stays closed the whole time. And then that mouse walks by the mouse hole, and the cat's eye goes like that. And that's what my ego did. It was like when another person made light of being late,
Yeah.
dude, I just said something like, I said, "Don't do that." And I just walked off, right? And that walk off was, my heart was closing. So later that day, I was in a well-being meeting that she is a part of. She's a leader that I work with. And again, I just adore her. She's so amazing the way she shows up. And I apologized during this well-being meeting. They're all doing the practice. And I was so I apologized, and I thought that, and then people can give you feedback, and they were giving feedback, and they were giving me stuff like, "Hey, Keith, you can't control other people. I learned this a long time ago. You just have rules about where you show up." And I think and so I thought that they were missing, like, there were a couple of dynamics to this. Yes, I can't control other people. I'm only responsible for Keith, but there is this other dynamic that we often play, which is we're also, a leader of a group or organization or a team. And in that case, where does accountability, come in? And I gave an example to drive the point home, but I really want to pose this question to you: like, where is that? How to apply accountability? And the way that I thought about it was, I said during the meeting, I said, here's one thing that I can do is people hopefully will show up on time, but if they show up late, then we keep the rotation going and they miss out on their sets. And my friend thought, like, I don't think that would go over well. That won't be fair. But I'm like, we're on a tight timeline, and we got people driving far away to get here, and a minute will cost them a couple of exercises that they need to get in, or that they drove a long way to get in, but they're not. So there's an impact to others when we show up late. And so there's no punishment, for showing up late if you show up late, because things happen. But if you do show up late, just know that this is what, I guess the consequence of showing late is you miss something. So that wasn't well received. And then I gave an analogy. And the analogy that I gave was, when you fly on an aircraft, commercial aircraft, to go somewhere, when the gate agents close that door to the plane, they're not opening it for any reason. I don't care why you were late. I don't care if you had an accident at home, your child was late, you forgot your ID. They are not opening that jetway door for any reason. That flight is sealed and is going without you. And they couldn't be nicer. Can I book you another flight? Let me get you another airline. They're unbelievable, right? Like, so that's the practice, right? You were late, there were consequences to it. The reason, while it may be important to you, there's consequences for being late and getting on this flight. And so that would be what I was thinking, is this would be close to that. Is like, if you're late, no problem, but just know that you may not get your sets in, because we need to do what's in the best interest of everyone collectively. So the practice for me, I think, is making sure that I'm peaceful inside, as I, ensure that we follow, rules that ensure that collectively we all have the best experience possible. So what are your thoughts, Rick?
Yeah, I think that's a great rule. We have a different role to play when we're a leader of a group, because we have a responsibility that goes beyond the responsibility to ourselves. And one of those things as a leader you must do is to make sure that whatever the agreed upon rules are in the group, and that's the key phrase, agreed upon, that those rules remain in effect and are enforced, and that there are boundaries. In your example with the door closing in the airplane, and even though somebody has a good excuse, the idea that the door remains closed, but the people who close the door are still polite and respectful, is the key to the story, right? It's not like, okay, now we're going to show you who's boss. It's not that kind of a thing. It's just, this is the rule. I'm a leader. I have to enforce it for the good of the group. And the door is closed, or you're late, and here are the consequences. Have a nice day. I think that's part of what the responsibility of any leader is to the group might be. Now, if you're in the group and you're not a leader, there's a different kind of test, and the responsibility for the group member is to be respectful of the leader, and also to be respectful of others in the group as you would be of yourself. And so it's a sign, in essence, of disrespect by breaking a rule. And the consequences of that are whatever. They don't get to do their sets, or the airplane leaves without them. I don't see there's a tension between having an open heart and enforcing rules, for sure. But the reality is, when you take on leadership, that's something that you have to contend with, and you have to have a structure in your heart ready for it. Now, that doesn't mean that you give up being loving, that you give up being reasonable, that you give up understanding of other people. You can be as understanding and as polite and as kind as you can be, and mean it, but still have the rule. Now, if the rule becomes onerous, if the group decides, assuming this is a democratically run group, if If the group decides they don't give a damn about who's late, well, then you got a different issue. But once there is a decision on how things work, then the rule has to be enforced with the velvet glove, right? It's not like you're making someone wrong or judging them, but you're doing whatever is required because that's the agreed upon rule, and those are the boundaries. One last point I think I'd like to make. Leaders are in a tough spot because there's a paradox in the way we act that may be in the interest of the group that we might not do on our own. And this is getting out of our comfort zone. A lot of times people don't want to be a leader because they don't want to risk being disliked, because people who enforce rules tend to be a lightning rod for other people's complaints. So I think one of the things that a leader must understand is that that's a likely scenario of what's going to happen, and you have to be at peace with that. You have to let that go. And for me, that's part of what is the growth factor in leadership, when you let go of things like other people not liking me because I'm enforcing the rules. That's great because that stretches you. We always want people to like us, but when we're in a situation where we're inviting their dislike, in essence, for enforcing something or for calling them out for breaking a rule, that makes it very difficult for us. And that discomfort, in my judgment, leads to growth. And so I said one last point, but I'm a lawyer, so I get to say a second last point, and that is that I found in my life that the periods of greatest growth for me have been times when I've been the most challenged. You know, I don't want to do something. How did I end up in the Supreme Court? I'm scared as hell. I can't say 2 words. My mouth is dry. I have a losing argument. I can't. Light goes on. Time for me to do it. And that experience, after going through something like that, at the end of the day, I am so proud of being able to do it. Not that I did a great job. In fact, I think I've had 4 Arizona Supreme Court cases. I think I lost them all. Maybe I won 1. But the point is, going through it and stretching yourself is really, really where growth is. So in terms of the leader enforcing a rule that brings on dislike, that's an opportunity for growth. And it serves the group at the same time. And you can do it with an open heart. That's all.
Wow. Rick, thank you. I mean, and I think that's the part where, like, if I was to go back and have another shot at my apology, it would be that, hey, listen, you know, after, you know, it being aware or apparent, you know, about the late, you know, you being late and things like that, that the period after that, it took me a while to get back to having an open heart. That's where the apology is. And that's also where my work is that part of it, is to do it with an open heart. The one thing that I have really worked on myself with, and I'll end with this, is that for me to do my best, because I'm not perfect, but do my best to follow rules that, you know, to follow rules. And in this case, rules that are for the collective good of everybody having a great experience in ToBeRe when we come together, is to not to know a backstory for me to do my part. I just want to do my part because I said I'm going to do my part. So, for example, this could be one of the cases, like to say, hey, listen, I said I'm going to show up on time. Me showing up on time is a contribution to the group. That's enough. But some people often need to know, like, why is this a big deal? And then I go into all the explanation, or I require other people to go into the explanation for me to be like, oh, okay, now I know why. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. So in this case, with the workouts, we have a person who drives at, you know, she probably leaves the house to get here at 5:15. She probably leaves the house, you know, an hour early because she lives 50 to 60 minutes away to get here. So she's leaving the house at 4:15. Most people aren't leaving the house till after 5. And she's doing that in case there's any freeway closures or detours that she might have to take on the way, because she really wants to get her here on time to make it a good experience for everyone else. Additionally, this friend of ours who's making that drive, she wants to be a PE teacher for young kids. She taught for a long time and she went back to be a PE teacher because she believes so much in well-being for young people. And she wants to not only look the part, she wants to be strong so she can demonstrate, you know, properly executed exercises for the students so they would be inspired by her performance. And she's not there yet. And so it's really important that she doesn't miss a set. of the workout, and especially in a group that is as supportive as ours. But my point is that to do your part, you don't need to know the rules, right? It's like, hey, somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're upset with them, and then you find like, oh my God, they had a family member that they're racing to get to who has fallen ill. No, just be compassionate, understanding about somebody, driving fast and letting it go without needing to have a reason to let it go. And that's where I've been really focusing a lot on, is that piece. But Rick, you really cleared it up for me in terms of leadership, accountability, and the practice. And I appreciate it. I love you.
I love you, Keith. Great show. Really enjoyed that. I think it's important for the viewers to see that the practice is something that is always required. It's not like you graduate and then you're on a cloud somewhere. Every day things will come up to challenge you. And that's, again, where part of the growth is. You monitor what's going on, and then you realize what your involvement was in suffering. And then you figure out what the way was that you deviated from the practice and get back on the horse.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick. I love you.
I love you, Keith. You take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.